Each morning, real RSI setups are broken down with entry strategies and the technical reasoning behind every trade. This is RSI Trade of the Day with Verified Investing.
Welcome to the RSI Trade of the Day. My name is Benjamin Poole, head trader here at Verified Investing. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I want to say thank you for everybody who commented. I had over 100 comments yesterday asking for my watch list. So you guys got it. You guys got my watch list, everything that I look at every single day. You guys can get that again. I'm going to go ahead and go over that one more time at the end of the show. But I've got another exciting show for you guys. Soundhound was on my radar yesterday. It's on my radar again today. That trade didn't play out. The RSI indicated it was going higher. It pretty much paused throughout the middle of the day. Looked like it was going to reverse and then was going to head higher. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at Soundhound again and tell you those additional levels that I have in the charts. And then I've got a couple different head and shoulders patterns that are starting to play out to the downside. I don't often go over head and shoulders patterns and additional chart setups. However, today, because there are two of them, I'm going to show you what I'm looking for with the RSI heading lower. All right, let's go ahead and go over SE first. Give me 1 second. All right, here we go. Soundhound first. Soundhound looked like it was going to roll over throughout the rest of the day after this big jump in the morning session. However, look at this. It put in some positive RSI divergence. Price action headed lower while the RSI stayed neutral or headed a little bit higher. This is what catapulted Soundhound up even more. Now we go to the daily time frame. Actually, look at this RSI. Stayed nice and high throughout the rest of the day. Now it's starting to trade at the highs of the day. Yesterday, Soundhound switched to the daily time frame. $22.85 is going to be your first level of resistance. Because it's not a very big extension to the upside, I'm going to wait for $23.95. Again, this level is off of the table for me now, but $23.95, you've got this big gap fill. RSI is indicating it's going to go higher, so it's likely to hit this level. Once it gets up to this gap fill, you're looking at about a 3 to 5% pullback. Based on the price action of Soundhound, look at this. You can get these pretty substantial rollovers in the stock, 7.5%. I would only look for about 2 to 3.5%. Now you could put a trailing stop if we do get filled at $23.95. Put a trailing stop every 50 cents lower so you can capitalize on that movement to the downside. FLNC is another stock that has just been flying higher. Look at this chart. Never really broke below the 30 on the RSI, and then price action ended up heading higher. It is now trading at $21.18. If we can take out this high right here on FLNC, this is actually going to be my trade of the day, everybody. So let's go ahead and play that zinger. So the RSI trade of the day today is short FLNC at $23.50. This isn't going to be a huge move to the upside, about a 10% from its current price action. Huge gap fill. One thing to keep in mind on FLNC, it is a smaller stock, smaller company. So this thing can really rip. If it closes on a 15-minute closing basis above that gap fill, I will stop out of that trade. And I'm going to be looking for about a 3 to 5% pullback. We should be able to get this based on the relative capitulation in this stock. It's got a lot of divergences and stuff like that in the stock. Okay, here we go. CLS is another stock that I'm looking at. It is heading higher. It looked like it had some nice bullish consolidation. Now it's heading to the upside. Look for a pierce of $3 or $300. So the reason that when a stock is overextended like this, we look for psychological numbers. Let's picture that you're long in a stock. Where are you likely to take profits? If it's already past $285, your next psychological level is going to be $290. You think it could go up to $290. There are some people who go $295, and then there are other people who go $300. And so if the majority of the people are putting their take profit levels at $300, what's going to happen to the stock once it gets to that level? All the sellers are going to pile in and shoot that stock down. And so this is why I like to use whole round numbers, because they're psychological. Think of yourselves as being a part of that collective inside of that stock. Where would you likely take profits? Well, if that's where you take profits, that's where other people are probably taking profits, and you can take advantage of that and ride that to the downside. Based on the extension move of CLS, you could probably get 3 to 5% on a pullback on this move down. One thing that I am liking about this stock is it is putting some negative RSI divergence. Although it's small, you have some volatility. And so $300 is where CLS is likely to go. SE is that stock that I was mentioning with the head and shoulders pattern. It is now trading at $174. Look at the RSI action. I'm not sure why it's only showing me today's price action at 10 o'clock. However, it's got a nice move to the downside. Let's go ahead and switch to the daily time frame. It's trading at $174. But look at this head and shoulders pattern. This is a beautiful thing to look at. And now it's got a projected downside target of $152. Look at what's going on with the RSI. So it could bust through the 30 on the RSI and head down to $146. However, $156 is you're going to have a gap fill as well. So that's where you're likely to get a bounce if it can move lower. If we get back up to this upsloping trend line, because it broke this neckline, this would be a great shorting opportunity to take advantage of a move to the downside. The beautiful thing about a head and shoulders pattern is it's very clear as far as a stop out level goes. If price action closes back inside of this neckline, so essentially above $178.31, that would be your stop out. And then look at where price action could go next, which is likely up to the $200 level. This was a great sell-off. And then an ensuing bounce today up to $174. It still favors a move to the downside. There are probably a lot of people who are stuck in this, probably covering their shorts. And now once the short coverers get out of this, $156.74 is where it's likely to go. Another stock that I'm looking at, you guys, is AXON. AXON has another head and shoulders pattern as well. Favors a move to the downside. Here is the measured move. So one of the ways you take a measured move is you take the tip of the head all the way down to the neckline. And then from trading view, you hit the control bar. And wherever the break is on this neck pattern, that is where you put this measured move. So it's the same movement pattern or same amount of move from the head to the neck, from the break of the neck all the way down. So it takes you all the way down to $515 on this chart. Now, I will caveat with this. You have this beautiful upsloping parallel channel. So a pattern inside of a pattern. RSI is heading down to the 70. You have some volatility in this stock. So if you get to the upside or $600, you've got this gap fill. $600 is where I would likely start a long position on AXON. And any close below $602 or $600 on a daily closing basis, you could stop out and then potentially pick it up at $515. Now, if you're willing to short this, you wait for a retrace to the neckline back up to $716, and then you could take advantage of a potential downside. You could move your stop along the way, so that way you can continue to take advantage of the break of the neckline, dollar cost average, scaling your stop down and lower. So that way, if it does pop up like we saw SE do, then you could take advantage of at least the partial move that it had on the downside. Okay, let's go into SNDK. SNDK had another move to the upside. It looked like it was going to roll over throughout the morning session. Now it's pushing up a little bit higher. So what I want to caveat or mention is psychological levels. Now that it got close to this psychological $150 level, people are likely to have already taken profits on that sell-off in the morning session or in the afternoon session on SNDK. So $150, although it is still a psychological level, it is likely had already been taken advantage of. And so my next level would be this upsloping trend line, $165. Something like SNDK can really move to the upside. And so that is where that's why I would wait for $165. Not only do you have this upsloping trend line, but you also have a psychological $165 psychological level. Okay, couple different questions that I had. So I'm going to go into some questions. TEM is another stock that I'm looking at. Upsloping trend line, $111.16. Gold, I've been looking at. One of the questions that I had, how long can the RSI stay above 70? Well, look at the price action of gold. It has essentially stayed above 70 for the last 30 days and just continuing to push. This is an astounding move on gold. You just got to tip your hat to it and say, congratulations, everybody who is in this trade, riding this to the upside, looking for possibly a $4,500 level or a $5,000 level. Who knows what's going to happen with gold? Every once in a while, stocks will blow through resistance levels and there's nothing you can do. Or commodities, for example, can blow through resistance levels even when the RSI is way overextended. So although this is one of the factors that I use, it's not only the only factor I use, and sometimes they can fail. We just play probabilities. 9 times out of 10, or even 8 times out of 10, these things will work out when they get into resistance levels. That's why I'm so confident in most of these charts that I go over with you guys. Some of them can fail. Silver has failed. Gold has failed for me. And there are a couple other ones have failed as well, but the majority of them do play out. And so we're just playing probabilities here. The last question that I'm going to go over real quick is actually TEM is one of the ones that I was going to go over. So one of the questions was which moving average do I use? And I use the 200 MA when I'm looking at price action. I look for extended moves. Once you get to about 30, 40, 50% away from a 200 MA, you are likely to get a pullback. Or if you're on the downside, you're about 50% lower on below the 200 MA, you're likely to bounce back. You use that in combination with the RSI. So that's the time frame that I use when going over that. Okay. There was a lot of information in there. Hopefully you guys can take advantage of this information, make some plays today. If you guys want to get my watch list, if you didn't get it yesterday, comment RSI Trade of the Day, and I'll send that over to you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for so much, for taking advantage of this opportunity to be with me every morning at 8:45. If you guys like what you guys are seeing, please make sure you're sharing with your friends, family, subscribing, ringing that bell so you can get notified every morning at 8:45. The stock market is open. Tomorrow we are going to be going live at the Money Show in Orlando. So my show has actually been moved up 5 minutes. So 8:40 tomorrow morning is when I'm going to go live. Please stay tuned. Garo Soloway is going over my trading game plan in less than 2 minutes. You guys don't want to miss that. So we'll see you guys next time in the charts. You guys have a great rest of your day. Take care.